Throughout this sprawling grassland environment, across the open plains, over the undulating hills, and amongst the outspread shrubland, the most abundant big game species is the wildebeest. Receiving their name from Dutch settlers, noting their resemblance to wild cattle, wildebeest are members of the antelope family. And while they are the preferred prey of many grassland species, particularly lions, wildebeests are no easy target. Coated in tough hide, the wildebeest is capable of speeds of 80 kilometers an hour and has the stamina to outpace big cats. With adults weighing up to 250 kilograms and armed with vicious horns, these wild cattle are more than equipped to contend with predators that stalk them through the grassland habitat. But their real strength is in numbers. Herd animals, wildebeests have developed behavioral adaptations to maximize their defense. Alternating roles of guard duty and sleeping, wildebeest herds are vigilante 24 hours a day. When threatened, the herd selflessly protects its youngest and most vulnerable members by closing ranks around them. Wildebeests have also developed collaborative relationships with other grassland creatures. Joining forces with zebras, they form mixed grazing groups in open savanna, simultaneously increasing their collective awareness whilst decreasing each individual's chance of being attacked. Highly attuned to the sounds of the savanna, wildebeests are keenly aware of the alarm calls from tree-dwelling birds and baboons, an early warning system telling them it's time to move. And moving is what wildebeests do best. Every year, herds in their hundreds of thousands come together for a defining event of the African grassland and one of the world's most spectacular natural phenomenons, the Great Migration. Chasing the rains of the savanna's wet season, they head northward in search of greener pastures in a ground-trembling mass movement sweeping inexorably across the plains. Stalked all the while by their usual grassland predators, they must also contend with several major river crossings through crocodile-infested waters. And while the migration may look disorderly, researchers have discovered there is a swarm intelligence to the transit. With a shared goal that will benefit the entire herd, the animals are able to repeat tests of trial and error in order to collectively overcome the obstacles that lie in their path. Successful migrations require connected wilderness corridors across the African continent, and human developments such as roads and fences create new barriers every year. Yet there is evidence that the collective intelligence of wildebeests is adapting to this human influence, with migration pathways ranging wider to avoid human encroachment. Beyond the big cats that hunt them, there is another threat to wildebeests, namely agriculture. Competing with livestock over grazing rights and blame for spreading disease amongst domesticated cattle, wildebeest numbers have decreased rapidly in recent years, as they are fenced out of traditional feeding areas and migration pathways. However, wildebeest grazing habits are known to be increasing soil fertility while decreasing fire risk on the savanna. And both farmers and conservationists recognize that wildebeests are needed to sustain the valuable grassland ecosystem. In an environment characterized by its wide open spaces, speed is a highly prized asset. But even in the fastest, in the unforgiving savanna, life is never easy. As the fastest land-based animal, the cheetah has evolved purely for speed. regularly clocking sprints of over 90 kilometers an hour. But acceleration is one thing and control is another. So while cheetahs may be famous for their speed, it is actually their agility that is the secret to their success on the veldt. Rare among the cat family, semi-retractable claws grant traction through the grassland as the cheetah swivels its narrow waist for high-speed maneuvers, the elongated tail acting as a rudder for stabilization. One of the smallest of the big cats, the thin-framed cheetah, can only target medium-sized prey and is poorly equipped to defend itself. Losing around 50% of their kills to the many larger predators of the veldt, cheetahs have had to make behavioral modifications to survive. Hunting in the morning or late afternoon to avoid competition, cheetahs eat their kill immediately to maximize feeding time before they can be chased off. Despite these adaptations to life on the savannah, cheetahs are only successful in around half of their hunts. Until recently, it was incorrectly believed that the reason for cheetahs pulling out of the chase was because they overheated in the African sun. However, cheetah body temperatures do rise when feeding. This is when cheetahs are at their most vulnerable, at risk of being set upon by other carnivores competing over the grassland's limited food resources. For an animal that relies entirely on speed and agility, any injury is potentially life-threatening for a cheetah, and they must be especially vigilant when feeding, ever ready to employ their speed defensively for a quick getaway. Having evolved so specifically, of the big cats, cheetahs are considered the least capable of adapting to change. Even in Africa's nature reserves, where other cats flourish, cheetahs face greater pressure from their larger competitors and are pushed outside the boundaries, coming into conflict with farmers. Facing extinction in much of Africa throughout the 20th century, small cheetah populations held on and have even made a comeback in certain countries. While cheetahs may not find it easy to adapt to their changing world, for now they continue to scrape by. The abundant and diverse life that inhabits the African grassland has developed a range of adaptations to thrive in this challenging environment. So not only is the veldt home to the fastest and largest animals on the planet, it is also home to the tallest, the giraffe. With male giraffes reaching heights of 5.5 meters, these lofty animals tower above the grassland. But despite their size, they can be surprisingly hard to see. Their distinctive coat patterns, unique to each individual giraffe, serve to break up their huge outlines, allowing them to blend in with the savanna woodlands. This camouflage is particularly important to young giraffes who are more vulnerable to predators before they reach full size. Stretching to just short of 2 meters and weighing 270 kilograms, the giraffe's neck is its most distinctive adaptation. It is also somewhat of a mystery. The conventional scientific explanation for the giraffe's extended neck center around natural selection, with their reach allowing them to feed on foliage that competitors cannot access, Giraffes have an advantage over other herbivores. However, recently some scientists have questioned whether the giraffe's neck is less important for feeding and more important in sexual selection. Male giraffes must compete in order to secure mating rights to females, using their necks as weapons. Known as necking, these fights consist of males wrestling their necks against each other and swinging their horned heads to deliver sledgehammer blows. If males with longer and stronger necks are winning these contests, could it be selective breeding that is driving the growth of the giraffe's neck? The giraffe's height affords them a very particular perspective over the immense plains of the savannah, but it is their heart that allows them to stand so tall. Weighing 11 kilograms, the massive giraffe heart races at 150 beats per minute, twice the rate of humans, in order to pump blood to the extremities of these extreme bodies. Displaying a distinct preference for the hardy and wide-ranging acacia tree, giraffes are well adapted to feeding in both the wet and dry seasons of the savannah. Grasping foliage with their elongated, prehensile tongues, they consume around 34 kilograms of vegetation daily. Giraffes also get the majority of their liquid from the leaves they eat. This means that they only need to drink every 3 days or so, minimizing the risk of attack from crocodiles and other predators around the savannah's waterholes. As human expansion has altered the savannah landscape, giraffe numbers have suffered, but they appear to be adapting to the changes. Able to graze alongside cattle, giraffes do not directly compete with livestock and are able to coexist with agriculture in a way that many other wild animals cannot. The unique grassland plains and sparse woodland environment of the savannah has seen some remarkable animal adaptations. Across the continent of Africa, we have seen the lion, the elephant, the wildebeest, the cheetah, and the giraffe. Yet the future of this grassland environment hangs in the balance. Facing the all too common pressures of human expansion, changes in the world's climate also threaten to upset the precious balance of the savannah ecosystem. Africa's commitment to preserving the savannah and its inhabitants through nature reserves is a crucial first step, but it is a global effort that is required to ensure the future of this extraordinary and fragile environment.